Hello everyone. Lee Kuan Yew is already dead for a month. Currently there's a flashpoint still ongoing about this boy, Amos Yee, who voiced up amidst the barrage of shameless propaganda during Lee Kuan Yew's state funeral. Most of the propaganda during the state funeral are unacceptable, falsified, falsehood, blown out of proportion to praise Lee Kuan Yew, who I call him old dog thief, 老狗贼. Let me go through what I've said in my Chinese version of the recording and add in some points that I've missed. Since World War II, when Lee Kuan Yew was a young man, he was already enemy of the Singaporean people because he collaborated in a treasonous crime with the Japanese army, and he worked in the Japanese army publication facility as a translator or interpreter. In his own memoir, Lee Kuan Yew wrote that he was slapped twice by the Japanese in his face for working in the Japanese facility. He is a traitor. He committed a treasonous crime. He is liable to be executed in a brutal punishment, just like all other traitors. In the Chinese words, this is called Han Jian, a traitor of a treason, betraying their own people and work for an invading enemy. That is Lee Kuan Yew since he is a young man. When the Japanese surrendered, Lee Kuan Yew turned back to be loyal with the enemy of the Japanese, which is the British. He sucked up to the British, and when the British power, he used British power to help him pursue his own power. Because the army and military controlling Singapore were loyal to the British, and Lee Kuan Yew, he don't have any forces behind him. He's so afraid of the Muslims, the Malay, the Indonesian, the Malaysian. So he's so afraid of the communists. So he used the British power to fight against these people, to arrest people who are pro-communist, and then secure his own ass, where he is a very pathetic coward. During his whole life in the political scene, Lee Kuan Yew is fearful of the Muslims, fearful of the Indonesian and Malaysian political forces. He's so afraid. The Indonesians that invaded Singapore during the Sukarno era with commando forces, during his own fight for power against Tunku Abdul Rahman, Lee Kuan Yew used Singapore's radio to attack and stir trouble, cause instability, turmoil in Malaysia, where Singapore was a part of. And equivalent with Penang Island, Singapore Island was a city where Lee Kuan Yew's own title is supposed to be the chief minister, just like until today, the Penang still have chief minister. But Lee Kuan Yew shamelessly and unlawfully altered his own title to be prime minister, violates the constitution of Malaysia, because he dreamed to be Malaysia prime minister. He wanted to put his ass in Tunku Abdul Rahman's seat. In the end, so much trouble, turmoil, instability, it's been stirred, security problems in Malaysia. Tunku Abdul Rahman announced that Singapore is ousted, kicked out from Malaysia unilaterally, so that Lee Kuan Yew was caught in a surprise. He cried. He wrote all of that in his memoir. After all these crimes that he committed against a state, the current Prime Minister, Najib Tun Razak's father, Tun Razak, was a Prime Minister. he had insisted on his policy of arresting Lee Kuan Yew under ISD. And during the whole time when Tun Razak was Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew dare not step into the Malaysian soil. He only do so after Dr. Mahathir became the Prime Minister and when Tun Razak died. When Tun Razak died, there was this incident that the news of his death, his funeral, his state funeral, was broadcasted on then I think SBC or whatever the previous way the media corp was called. Lee Kuan Yew personally called up to interfere with the news broadcast. The person in the newsroom on duty received his call was exactly Mr. Gandhi Ambalam, and he was the SDP's previous party chairman. He said, "This is my television," referring to Singapore's SBC or whatever it was previously called. And he said, "There's no news of Tun Razak allowed on my television." That's what Lee Kuan Yew said. So he ordered immediate stopping of reporting of state funeral of Malaysian late Prime Minister Tun Razak, who is Prime Minister Najib Tun Razak's father, being ousted from Malaysia. Tunku Abdul Rahman forbidden Singapore within a very short time to stop using the Malaysian ringgit as Singapore's currency because you're not part of Malaysia. You're not allowed to use the currency. Lee Kuan Yew then went to beg the Brunei Sultan, the Sultan agreed for a temporary measure to use the Brunei currency as a temporary Singapore currency until Lee Kuan Yew can manage to print the Singapore dollar. And for this reason, until today, even after Lee Kuan Yew is dead, that the Brunei dollar have to be ordered by MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore, that all the banks should accept Brunei dollar as Singapore dollar equivalent, 1-to-1. Although it's a two different currency, and most of the time, in the whole past, the Brunei currency is slightly lower value than Singapore dollar. This was the history. I'm going through to show the incompetence, the corruptness of Lee Kuan Yew, that the propaganda in his state funeral bullshit like to cover up and miss. Lee Kuan Yew abused Internal Security Act to drive fear to some of his opponents. But he himself is a chicken that's so afraid that Tun Razak want to arrest him. Due to his own fear, he assumed people are afraid of the same thing. So he used it. Operation Cold Store and all that. He is not that strong. But he imagined people are in the same kind of fear as he is. He is so insecure. When Malaysia and Indonesia demanded apologies for what Lee Kuan Yew said, he always complied. He is always a chicken. He was always a coward. Only when he ran up to his Western master, he went to Europe, he went to US, there he dared to bark like a dog from there to ask the Bush government to have a war against the so-called Islam terrorists. Over here in Singapore, he shut his mouth. He dare not say these things. In most of the pro-Lee Kuan Yew propaganda that the Lee Kuan Yew regime tried to blow up, they emphasized a lot on Lee Kuan Yew being credited to build a modern city, the best airport and port. Now this is a lot of meat. This is a lot of meat, especially from the part that they say Singapore transformed in Lee Kuan Yew's hand from a fishing village to a brilliant city. This is complete false. When Singapore got independent from the British colony, the British already built one of Asia's largest and most prosperous trading port. It's got a lot of facility. It wasn't a fishing village. It was a fishing village a century ago when Stamford Raffles came. And that was 100 years ago. During the 100 years, the British already built a lot of facilities in Singapore, including Paya Lebar Airport, Seletar Airport, Tengah Air Base, Changi Air Base, and there was also an old airport in the Kallang area that got abolished. It's got most of the fundamental ship building, Sembawang Shipyard, Keppel Shipyard, the PSA essential port area already exists and operated for more than a century before Lee Kuan Yew was even born. And they accredit all these kinds of fundamental infrastructure to Lee Kuan Yew. That's complete false. Let me go through some video to show you of Singapore city. Singapore is an island city. It does not have the countryside. It does not have the villages anymore. It's totally lack this outskirt of city, the rural area is already gone. So it's a very awkward design city. It's just almost like a freak creation. If you look at the center city, where the area where you see Marina Bay, now, what does it resemble? The profile of Marina Bay water resembles exactly the female reproduction organ. It has the two ovary, fallopian tube, womb, vagina, hymen. Hymen is the Marina Barrage. The original shoreline of Kallang River and Singapore River was above the existing shoreline, and the reclaimed land built the rest of the shape of this profile. So it's totally artificial. Now, why they built this bullshit? Lee Kuan Yew, when he was traveling with his wife to China, he saw a couple of times the grand, gorgeous Three Gorge Dam of the Yangtze River. He was so envious. He came back to Singapore and ordered his minions to build something in such a way that he want to glorify his city design. So he wants a barrage. He wants this waterfront, this bay, spend money to make this design, and he called it a reservoir. In Singapore, during even the British time, a lot of dams were built to dam river to create MacRitchie Pierce, Upper Pierce, Seletar Reservoir. Later, during Lee Kuan Yew's era, Kranji River, Murai, Pandang River, etc., etc. They were all dams built, similar, some even larger scale than the Marina Barrage. It did not cause flood problems in Singapore. But once the Marina Bay Barrage was created, Orchard Road, Serangoon, any downtown area, a dozen hotspots began to see flood. That's this boom, Marina Barrage, causing this flood water, which we call that the mantis of this boom. The Marina Barrage and the Bay area, that is Lee Kuan Yew's $1 trillion brilliant city, flooded in this mantis water is like a cunt. It's an international joke in architecture design. If you look over the top area of this Marina Bay, you see the Shears Bridge. Now, this part of this bridge, the ECP Expressway, it was part of our ECP Expressway, it's no longer. They have to build a $4.3 billion MCE tunnel that go below the vulva area. And that being a bypass of this ECP that has got daily congestion in the morning peak hour from east towards the west, in the evening peak hour from the west towards the east. In the Kappa Road flyover, which is currently being broadened or enlarged to have additional lane, why they cannot do the same enlargement, widening on the Shears Bridge? Because it's built too tall. Why is it built too tall? Okay, it is difficult to widen a very tall bridge, well, especially it is in operation. You may have to shut it down for a couple of years but you can't do it because that's a bottleneck. Just to do the widening. Why is it built so tall? The height is a redundant white elephant today. The height of this sheer bridge was built so high because in the Tanjung Ru area there were some shipyards, Singapore slipways, for example. I used to work in there when I was a student. During my vacation, I worked as a welder in Singapore slipway. Today, these shipyards were all evicted. The height of the bridge was made so high in the aim of having large ships going under the bridge to access to the shipyard area in Tanjung Ru. Today, they evicted the whole area and built condos. The height is a white elephant. This whole thing shows the lack of foresight and plan and vision. They have to build a tunnel below the vulva area for $4.3 billion, and the tunnel is leaking water. There's so much of video showing. The tunnel caused jam. It is supposed to ease jam. The barrage causes a flood, where it's supposed to prevent flood. These are the kind of quality in this Lee Kuan Yew cunt. His pride, the city that's in the propaganda so perfect and brilliant. But these are the issues that I'm pointing out. Lee Kuan Yew, whenever he got into power, like everyone knows, he manipulates media. He manipulates the media to attack Tunku Abdul Rahman even since before Singapore was separated from Malaysia. He manipulated and controlled the media to squash voices against him. He abused what he himself is a chicken to be afraid of, the ISD, to arrest opponents. He abused defamation suits to sue people like Tang Liang Hong, JBJ, Ji Sun Juan, the SDP. But the fear had been reversed by us. The fighters reversed the fear of the people. Now Lee Hsien Loong, and before Lee Kuan Yew was dead, he was already so afraid. He shut his mouth. He designed and catered a cheating system called GRC, unique worldwide, to cheat and fraud the whole election, where he called democracy, my foot. He designed and catered for himself, but then he's so chicken to become the elected president. He designed and created and altered Singapore Constitution to have an elected president, the presidency. That was all for himself. But after we attacked him so much, Lee Kuan Yew dare not put his ass in the elected presidency. He get Nathan Ong Teng Cheong. He get Tony Tan to sit in there. Lee Kuan Yew is such a chicken. He dare not leave himself a grave in a Kranji memorial. Today, there is Yusof Ishak, late president's grave. There's Benjamin Sheares, late president's grave, in Kranji Memorial. Why Lee Kuan Yew is so afraid, chicken, to leave himself a grave there? That shows he has no confidence that his Lee regime will exist. He is afraid that the people against him will dig his corpse out of his grave and torture and abuse his grave. That's the same reason 38 Oxley Road have to be demolished. He do not want anything of any memorial value to be left to his opponents, to be destroyed. In the ex-Soviet Union, you see people destroying Lenin, Stalin statues, the body of Saddam Hussein, the body of Gaddafi, all being abused by his political enemies. A lot of graves of Chinese ruler emperors were destroyed, body being abused. Lee Kuan Yew know the idea. Since the year about 2001, I already posted a comic of Lee Kuan Yew being a vampire inside a coffin, and there's a spike and a hammer hammering the Lee Kuan Yew. There was the vampire inside his coffin. That gave him the correct idea. Bloody Lee Kuan Yew dare not establish a memorial hall for his corpse, like Mao Zedong, like Kim Jong-il, like Lenin. He's so afraid that somebody will go and pee on his corpse. So he cremated himself. He ordered 38 Oxley Road to be demolished. That's what he is. He's a chicken. He's a pathetic chicken, Lee Kuan Yew. It's all in the pro-Lee Kuan Yew propaganda that he created a corrupt-free system, my foot. Lee Kuan Yew legitimized corruption to the abusive, obscene high salary of presidents, ministers, prime ministers, even himself, MM. Corrupt true salary, extreme high salary. And that is what he called the clean system. The same abuse of political power, plundering taxpayers' wealth, plundering state funds to satisfy own material greed, to satisfy material greed to benefit his own family, plundering from national wealth and taxpayer money, abusing the power, same as the traditional corruption. But he claimed to be clean. It's not clean. It's the same dirty crime. You have to face punishment. And on top of that, in the distortion and abuse of law, twisting the law to protect the corruptions of your own. His son repeatedly abused state funds to buy votes, to distribute thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars to each voter just 5 days before all the polling days in the last 3 elections. This is called the clean system. His claim of meritocracy, you look at his cabinet, he passed his prime minister seat to his son. He made his daughter-in-law, Ho Ching, control of Temasek. In the high, crucial key posts of civil service, he emplaced a whole network of relatives, family relatives, friends, cronies, and he's called all that meritocracy. It's a bullshit. Among all the tension and hostility between Singapore and Malaysia since the day of ouster from Malaysian Federation in 1965, there's a big issue of water supply. The water supply of Singapore City was a facility installed by the British during the colonial time. The Johor River water was pumped on a pipe on the causeway supplying to Singapore. And it's been for decades, long decades. And cheaply, the water was supplied in a contract in a very low cost, something like 3 cents a 1,000 gallons, something like that. Lee Kuan Yew ruined the whole arrangement and saw up the whole relation in his political failure. What did he do? In one of his National Day rally, he went to talk big. He went on national TV to tell Singaporeans and the world how smart and creative he was, that the Singapore was so deprived of water resources, but his wise policy make profit out of water he bought from Malaysia and processed and resold to Malaysia on the profit. The Malaysian opposition attacked Dr. Mahathir for being a sucker in the deal. So the Malaysian government is so pissed off, they want to increase price of water selling to Singapore, or they become so reluctant to supply water to Singapore. Right now, he create this bullshit of new water, and he said it's so cheap for him to take toilet water, shit water, urine, all kinds of industrial waste, city waste, sewerage water. Instead of desalination, he said of an audacious lie to say that it's very cheap for him to recycle toilet water, called new water. This is a joke. It's called Air Jamban. Malaysia has offered to Lee Kuan Yew a deal that since you think you can do it cheap, we pump all our sewage into the pipe, the same pipe. Instead of Johor River water, we should give you the sewage, and you should process it. It's a win-win deal. Since you can cheaply process this waste and drink them, we give it to you for free. Lee Kuan Yew is an idiot. He's a sucker. He's a traitor. I call him an old dog thief. He still is. What Amos Yee, the small boy, said in the video is a correctional view to counter the bullshit propaganda in Lee Kuan Yew's state funeral period that you saw. These are all the audacious, shameless falsehood and myth. And they are so chicken, they want to punish a small boy, 16 years old, put him in jail, charge him for what he said. I already posted on internet a legal defense for Amos Yee, and I asked lawyers to come forward to defend him. Please do so to support this boy. If the charges by Singapore AGC, public prosecutor, could stand, that people are distressed of hearing the content, seeing the content of Amos Yee's video, the same distress are suffered by people who hold view against Lee Kuan Yew, because his state funeral is 100% pro Lee Kuan Yew views. It's caused distress to people like Amos, people like me, millions more worldwide, who are distressed by seeing this propaganda. In the law, in the Constitution of Singapore, Article 12, we have equal rights of protection by law. Not only pro-Lee Kuan Yew people enjoy protection of law, the anti-Lee Kuan Yew people enjoy the same protection. We are entitled to counter the propaganda using YouTube video. I did the same. The Lee Kuan Yew regime dare not come after me. They bully this little boy. So stand up, Singaporean. Fight the family regime. Lee Kuan Yew is dead. We still have to fight this regime. Regime continue as long as Lee Hsien Loong is still in the istana. Kick him out. Thank you, Singaporean.